Okay, let's just dive right in. What if I told you that you probably already make enough money to become a millionaire? Seriously, that's the big, empowering idea from author David Bach. It's not about getting a huge raise, it's about putting in place a simple, automatic system.
Think about it for a second. Have you gotten a raise in the last few years? Most of us have, right? But do you actually feel any richer? Is your net worth really growing? For most people, the answer is a big, frustrating no. So, what's going on here?
Now, this is the statement that could honestly change everything for you. And I know what you might be thinking. Impossible. I can barely cover my bills as it is. And look, that's a totally fair point. But just stick with me because really letting this sink in is the absolute first step towards financial freedom.
This brings us to a huge misconception that traps so many people, the great income myth. We're all taught to believe that a bigger salary will make us rich. But the hard truth is, how much you earn has almost zero impact on whether or not you actually build wealth. And why is that? Well, because as our income goes up, our spending has a funny way of going right up along with it.
So, if a bigger paycheck isn't the secret, what is? Well, it all comes down to something David Bach calls the latte factor. And before you check out, let me be super clear. This is not about giving up your coffee. It's a metaphor, a symbol for all the little things we spend money on every day without even thinking twice about it.
The whole concept actually came from one single powerful conversation. So let's dig into the story of how a daily coffee habit could secretly be worth over $1 million.
So picture this. David Bach is giving a seminar, and a woman in the audience stands up and says his advice is basically impractical. She says she's just scraping by, and there is absolutely no way she could find any extra money to save. It's a feeling a lot of us can probably relate to, right? So he sat down with her, and they actually looked at her daily spending. And they found something, well, kind of shocking. Every single day before 11 in the morning, she was spending about $10 on things like a fancy coffee, a muffin, and other little snacks. So David asked her a really simple question. He said, forget the whole $10. What if you just took half of that, just $5 a day, and you invested it instead? What do you think? Take a guess. What do you think that would add up to by the time she retired?
Her guess was pretty much what most of us would probably think, maybe $70,000 or $80,000, which is a nice chunk of change for sure, but not exactly life-changing. And this is the moment that changes everything. The actual number, assuming a 10% annual return, which, by the way, is right in line with historical stock market averages, was $1.2 million. That's right. Her daily coffee and muffin habit was quietly costing her a multi-million-dollar retirement. That is the latte factor in action.
So the crucial question becomes, what's your latte factor? It's probably not lattes. Maybe it's buying bottled water every day, or that daily soft drink. Maybe it's the fast food lunch you always grab, or that gym membership you never use. We all have one. The first step is to just be honest with yourself and figure out what it is.
Okay, so finding that $5 or $10 a day is one part of the equation. But the other ingredient, the one that's arguably even more powerful, is something you already have. It's time. Let's see just how powerful it really is. We're going to look at a simple story of 3 different people: Billy, Susan, and Kim. Now, they all invest the exact same amount of money each year, and they all get the exact same 10% return. The only thing that's different is the age they start investing.
Now, this is where it gets kind of mind-bending because the result just seems to defy logic. First, look at Kim. She invests for 39 years straight, puts in over 100 grand of her own money, and ends up with 1.3 million. Awesome. But now, look at Billy. He only invests for 5 years, putting in a tiny fraction of that, just $15,000. But because he started so incredibly early, at age 15, he ends up with the most money of all, 1.6 million. That is the unbelievable, almost magical power of compound interest.
So the takeaway here is it's incredibly powerful. The single most important factor in building wealth isn't having a high salary or a big pile of cash to start with. It's starting as early as you possibly can, even if it's just with a small amount.
Okay, so we found our latte factor money, and we totally understand the power of time. So how do we make sure we actually do this? The secret is to build an automatic system that works for you without you ever having to think about it. Let's be honest with ourselves. Traditional budgeting fails for most of us. It relies on willpower and discipline, and those things run out. The automatic way is totally different. You set it up one time, and it guarantees that you pay yourself first every single time, without fail.
Think about it like this. The government figured this out decades ago.
They knew that if they relied on people to budget and save for their taxes, they'd never get paid. So they automated the whole process to make sure they got their money first, right out of your paycheck. You need to apply that same foolproof logic to your own wealth.
Now, at this point, I can almost hear the gears turning. Your brain is probably coming up with all the reasons why this won't work for you. Let's call them the yeah buts. Let's just tackle those head on.
Okay, here's the big one. The second people see that 10% number we used, their brain just goes, yeah, but I'll never be able to earn that. And they just shut down the whole idea. But look, even if you only get a 5% return, half of what we talked about, you could still end up with $500,000. And $500,000 is infinitely more than the $0 you'll have if you never get started. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good.
And here's another classic excuse. This belief that investing is some exclusive club, only for people who already have a lot of money to begin with.
That might have been true 20 years ago, but it is completely false today. Thanks to modern apps and investment accounts, you can set up an automatic investment plan with literally $1 a day. The barriers are gone. That excuse is dead.
So there you have it. The system is incredibly simple. Find your latte factor, understand the power of starting early, and most importantly, make the whole thing automatic. The only question left is what small, almost unnoticeable expense are you going to redirect today to start building your future?